All right, so my son and I arrived Heartland Lodge Thursday afternoon. Greeted warmly. Immediately, Matt took us out to the gun range. Was really fortunate that both guns shot right on bullseye. And then we went to our room, and man, nice room, hot tub, shower, fireplace, the whole 9 yards. Had time to really unpack, get comfortable, get our backpack ready for the day and for the hunt the next day, get all of our ammo, just get everything lined up. And then right on time at 6:30, the dinner bell rang, and we went and sat down and had one of the best meals I've had at any hunt property in my travels. And family style. The meat was so good. I remember telling my son, "You don't even need your knife." It was just so tender. The food was incredible. Open with prayer and just concern and thanksgiving for the gathering. It felt like what my hunting lodge would feel like if I was to have a hunting property. Very warm, very friendly. Then we went after dinner and sat down with the guides. They really educated us on not only measuring the animals, but what to look for, how the bucks will behave when they're coming in, what to do, and really filling out a mature buck. Had some different mounts and walked out of there feeling really good about being able to know a measurement of a 130, 140 class deer. My son and I have been to Pike County a few other times, and we wanted to try something a little more intimate like Heartland. And met Gary at the SCI convention in Vegas, Gary, Harpole, and Matt. And when we left the guide meeting that night, I remember Christian and I talking about other places we've been. The guides kind of make you feel tense, stressed, like maybe you're not even good enough to be hunting these animals. And there was such a warm reception with the guides. You could tell our guide, Mark, was just genuinely wanting us to feel comfortable, understand the surroundings we were going to be in. And he even went so far as to show us some of the deer on the game cameras, from the game cameras that were in that area, so we would know what to be looking out for. First time that had ever happened on a whitetail trip in this area for us. So the dinner ended, the meeting ended very warmly, and at 4:45 in the morning sharp, we met Mark out front after breakfast and getting ready, and that first morning, getting everything together and walking through, okay, I got my binoculars, I got, just that first morning of getting ready. And Mark took us to the first stand, and Christian was a little uncomfortable with that stand, and so he didn't even blink an eye. He made an adjustment and moved my 17-year-old son, to another stand, and then walked me into my stand. And because the night before he'd kind of already told me the layout, where deer travel had been seen, and sure enough, first light, I had deer activity. A lot of does, some young bucks come in. I think around 8:30 I had a shooter, a nice 8 or 9 point come in. He was a 130, maybe 140 class, and fortunately I've had the privilege of shooting that type of deer before, or certainly my son, let me put it this way, my son has had the privilege. This was the first trip where I was going to pull the trigger in a long time, because I've always put my son in the stand and sat with him and gave him the gun. And so he pulled the trigger, but we've had some 130, 140 deer, and I really wanted an Illinois monster. That was what I came for, and really the whole experience, whether I shot or not, was going to be exciting, because I knew he could walk out. And we had made the decision on the way up here, we were going to hunt every day, all day, as long as it was physically possible. And so they packed us a really nice lunch, and after seeing when that 8 or 9 point was hanging out, another buck came through chasing a doe, and I remember it kind of looked like a cartoon. That one buck did like a triple take and then got in line and went after him, and he ran off, and things kind of quieted down around 10:30, 11 later in the morning. And so I pulled my sandwich out and started eating, and really started bird watching. Amazing woodpeckers and different color birds in the timber, and had a coyote come through and jump up a couple of doe that were bedding down right near the stand. They had bedded down, and a young spike, and he jumped them up, and I watched him for a while, and then he decided to bed down where they were bedding down, I guess waiting for them to come back. And so I squeaked at him a few times, got his attention, and waved him out of there, and he took off. And had my sandwiches and drank a Diet Coke in the stand, and it was just beautiful. Started to doze off after my meal, and of course I'm strapped in the tree, so I was kind of leaning into my strap, and I guess about 12:15 I kind of told myself, look, wake up, you're out here to hunt, don't be playing catnap. And so I got my binoculars out and really started scanning the timber and being very hunting, right? Hunting the timber, looking deep into the woods. And sure enough, there's this little gas line that Mark had told me be wary of, because they'll sneak through and then come down out across, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss them. And I got a glancing side shot of these and this, and my brain and my stomach said that can't be a deer. It's a bush, it's a tree. I've never seen a deer like this on the hoof, and I saw everything go down, and my heart kind of sank and went, yeah, it's a bush, blowing in the wind. And then his head came back up, and I caught just the brow line, and next thing you know, my heart's in my throat. I'm just a basket case. I'm having to calm myself down, and he was in this tall grass. All you could see was just the tops here, and every now and then catch his brow when he'd look around and smell the air. And I saw him approximately 12:45, and he took 30 minutes to move 30 yards. And the way he moved was more cat-like than any deer I've just never seen a deer walk like that, stalk around a tree, literally stop at the biggest trees every time. And you could see his nose up, you could see him going down and eating a little. There's definitely some acorns down in the hardwoods that he was feeding on. For 30 minutes, he did not give me a shot, and I knew he was there. Meanwhile, I'm going through breathing exercises. I'm trying to calm myself down. Listen, you can celebrate after the shot. Stop. Get a hold of yourself. You're not going to be able to make this shot. And fortunately, Mark, my guide, had cleared a bow lane for the bow hunters, I guess last week, or a couple weeks before, for bow season. And so I picked out that clear lane, and at the very end of the lane, about 80 to 100 yards away, in this little creek bed that he was working, because, realize he's in this little bottom, and all you would see every now and then is head, maybe shoulder. Never saw his back line. And then he finally started to work out of that creek bottom, and he's in now little bitty timbers, and the only thing I could ever get a shot of was his rear end. Isn't that appropriate? That's a deer. He knows what he's doing. And as he started to work out, at the very end of the bow lane, there were two trees, small trees about this big around, with an opening about that big. And I felt like the way he was moving, that he would come through that little opening, and that was my clearest path for the bullet. And so I set myself up, and I just started kind of practicing holding it there, and then would look back at him. And he was moving so slow, I literally had times, I think I sat my gun down 3 times and picked my binos back up. And I tell you, man, it's really good to have good binos, because I would even lose him and have to, oh my God, he's walked away. He's just everything going through my mind. I've blown it, but I never had a shot until that opening. And so as I saw him get very close, I put my binos down, I pulled my gun up, and I got ready. And when he came through that little hole, he was quartering slightly away. And I don't know if you can see, but thank goodness, as his shoulder came through, pulled off, and it was the most amazing thing. As the smoke cleared, I saw him freight training straight into the bank on the other side, about 15, 20 yards away, and he crumpled. And I pulled out the speed loader right in my pocket, and that's a farce. There's no such thing as a speed loader muzzle load after the shot on a world-class Illinois buck. I'm fumbling and bumbling. I can't get the gun loaded. I almost dropped my ramrod out of the tree, but I can see him laying, and I just know this beast is going to get up. I mean, I just know it. He's going to get up and run. I can't get my gun loaded. Finally get my gun loaded, and because I can see him, I'm thinking, all right, I don't want to pick up my phone. I don't want to text Mark. I got him down. I know he's down. I just sat there with my gun ready for about 20 minutes. And then I couldn't stand it anymore. And I wanted to make sure he was dead. And because I could see him and he was right there and I could walk right to him, he was about 120 yards from the stand dead. And I texted Mark, monster down. And he texted back to me, "You got one?" And then I sent him a picture. I have one. And it is the first deer of my life. When I walked up to it, he keeps getting bigger every time I see him. And I texted Mark, I think he's got 5-inch bases. He's probably 150, 160, and I was just ecstatic. And I kept trying to get my hands around his base to kind of figure, well, these are, this is 6 inches, but I couldn't get my fingers all the way around his base, and I kept thinking maybe he's bigger than I think. I'm from South Carolina, grew up in Texas. I've just never seen mass like this. These are Coke cans coming out of his head. And so when Mark came, he goes, "Oh no!" Matter of fact, Zach came too. We went and got the 4-wheeler so they could lug him out of there, and their expression was, "This is a good deer. This is a really, really good deer." 8-inch bases. Scored 170. My son Christian is back out hunting this morning. He's already seen a shooter this morning, about a 139, probably that same one that I saw. And but he's looking. We know there's 160s plus in there, and so we're just going to wait them out and either go home with a trophy, 2 trophies, or this amazing one here. So I just want to really say this has been, obviously, the hunt has been a world-class hunt, but the people have been spectacular. They've made us comfortable. The food is better every night. They say the first meal is the best. Don't believe them. It gets better every night, and it's an amazing environment. And beyond the amazing deer, I think that's really important, though. You gotta have a chance. The genetics have to be there. A lot of my friends go hunting in places where these deer just aren't there, and they get disappointed when they come back with a 130 or 140, but that's what's in that area. Up here, you can come home with a 170, 180, 190 class deer. And that really, for me, just the chance of getting a monster has been why we keep coming to Pike County, and now we found a new home away from home. This is our new hunting lodge. So